MIDDLEKAUFF! Heavy, hey!
What's up, y'all? Welcome, everybody, to another edition. We'll shake your bosoms. No, you're tight up there.
No, I got, winter weight,
It's another edition of Haberman MIDDLEKAUFF. I'm Guy. That's John. If you're new here, welcome. If you're an OG, awesome. If you're watching the YouTube, hit that subscribe, hit that like button. That's very helpful. Makes me feel good when I see a like. Immediate dopamine shot directly tied to my self-esteem. You can also check out the podcast down in the description below. And if you're listening to this podcast, awesome. There's a video version of this. You can watch it. And that description, the YouTube link, is down in the podcast description below. Mailbag is going to get fired up here soon, John. We are approaching mailbag season.
6 months of the year.
So, a lot to get to. Well, QB health season, all that.
Yeah. Oh.
6 months a year, too. So, yeah. As we speak, John, the Colts are in their 15th round of interviews. Fingers crossed, both hands and toes. Hope Jeff Saturday interviews well the third time around. Good luck, Jeff.
Good luck, Jeffrey. Did he make it to the 19 guy third round finalist list?
He had to have. It's like an episode. It's like The Voice or something. I saw somebody tweet like, well, this is just what you do so that when you hire Jeff Saturday, it looks like you had a legitimate interview process. But if I could defend Jim Irsay for a second here, you're about to hand somebody, well, I guess Jeff Saturday wouldn't command an $85 million contract like Sean Payton. But you're about to give somebody a lot of money, and you've known them for 8 hours. Like the Texans have known DeMeco Ryans most of his professional life.
Yep.
If the Eagles lose Shane Steichen to the Colts, or Jim Irsay will have known that person just for the amount of time that he's met with them, like 8 hours. I actually don't think it's insane to want to talk to somebody more than twice before you give them $50, $60, $70 million.
I think it's less about the money.
This is not the way business is done, clearly.
I think it's less about the money you're giving them, because you're going to give an astronomical amount of money to whoever. It's more about, if we get this wrong, it's devastating for our business. And if we get this right, it's very lucrative for our business. So let's fucking try to get it right. You could argue at minimum, 5 interviews, like dinner, spending time with your family. Like, let's just do some non-football stuff.
I would say if I were an owner, I'd want some covert, operations. Like, I just follow you around for a week and just kind of watch you. You don't know I'm there. See how
think about the amount of time you spend in a draft pick. A guy coming out this year. Let's just pick one of the quarterbacks, Will Levis. My scouts have been watching that guy for several years now. He goes to the combine. We spend time with him. We bring him into our facility. We go to his pro day. We go out to dinner with him. We have done extensive research from the coaching staff to the support staff at Kentucky. We've talked to his teachers. We've talked to his parents. We know his agent. We've gotten to know him slowly but surely. We come in with a enormous amount of information before we even meet the individual. You spend so much time and so much effort scouting players, and you'd argue, well, it's a big investment. True, but like a top 5 pick gets what? $35-40 million guaranteed now? Coach, did you see, is that what the Sean Payton you read? $85 million?
5 years, 85. So $17 million a year.
Which, a lot of money. And he's unique because we have a lot of information on him, right? His resume and his, as a human, like he's well established. But a lot of these people you're interviewing, the Bengals coaches, the Eagles coaches, we don't know that much. Some of these guys were quality control guys 5 years ago.
Sirianni was, what did we say? He was quality control guy 3 times, which got to be unheard of for a head coach.
I think Nate Hackett was too.
3 times?
I'm pretty sure. You're saying for like 3 different teams?
No, it was like he was with Andy, quality control. Then he gets promoted to like assistant QB coach. then who knows? Like and obviously this didn't happen, but like whatever. Matt Nagy needs to join the staff, so he goes back to like quality control. Then was he in San Diego? Maybe as a quality control.
You're saying Sirianni was with Andy?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna pull up his resume now.
I don't think he was. I think
he was Chiefs 09 offensive quality control coach. That was his first pro job.
Todd Haley, I think.
Then he was 10 assistant QB coach, 11 offensive quality control coach, 12 wide receivers coach. So you're right. Andy was not there yet.
Comes in the next year. I bet he's gone.
13, he goes from Chiefs wide receiver coach to Chargers quality control coach. So
need a paycheck.
John, that's weird. 3 times a quality control coach is weird.
Sometimes it's hard as a young guy, though.
You just got to keep whatever job you can get and just
keep the momentum. Yeah, keep the momentum.
Yeah. So then he's QB coach. Then the Chargers move him from QB coach to receiver coach.
He'd done that before.
Then he becomes the Colts OC, but he's not really calling the plays, right? Was Frank Reich calling the plays?
Yeah.
And then 18, 19, 20, and then Eagles in 21.
Now he's in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. There's no two roads are the same, I guess, but just a bizarre. What was the name of the Commanders football team defensive coordinator we're talking? Chris Harris the other day?
Yeah.
I can't quite tell. I mean, obviously Shanahan, Fangio's greatest flaw is that he runs the wrong defense, and his second flaw is not bald, which clearly is a Shanahan requirement for defensive coordinator. And Chris Harris, different photos, some photos bicked, some photos very short. So just something to keep an eye on. Ejiro Evero, what's his hair status?
I saw the Jets might be the first franchise in league history to have a bald GM, a bald head coach, and a bald offensive coordinator.
Was that like did you get that in the newsletter?
No, I just saw someone tweeted it out.
Bald Brotherhood newsletter.
That's probably correct.
Evero bald. So
Shanahan looked really skinny, I thought, at his press conference. He looked thin, you know.
What did John Lynch keep saying about him? He needs sleep.
I'm just fascinated. When I don't sleep a lot, I get hungrier, and my discipline and inhibitions to not turn things down, and I just end up eating dirtier. He feels like the opposite, where he just doesn't eat. He just drinks like coffee all day. And do you think he puts cream in his coffee? I would say no.
Do coaches put cream in their coffee?
Some do, I think. Some younger ones do.
I feel like most don't. I feel like you'd have to scrounge for sugar in the.
It's usually right there. There's usually like an unlimited amount of different creamers. I cannot pretty easily drink just coffee black, but when cream's there, it's just, I'm going to put some cream in my coffee.
Yeah.
It's like a mental, edge, I think.
I did it today with no cream, just with the sugar, and it actually was fine.
Can you just do black coffee?
No.
You could, though.
I mean, I could. I've done it. Last time, actually, I got coffee at a football office, San Diego State, no cream to be found and no sugar to be found. So I just drank it black. They just had like 2 of those pots from diners, those.
Yeah. That's like classic. It is a little stronger.
I opened the fridge, not shit in the fridge. You can't find sugar anywhere.
Food's delivered, man.
And no creamer.
Do basketball coaches drink coffee? Or are they sleeping?
I know Bobby Hurley drinks like only consumes Diet Coke on game day.
He doesn't want to be too amped up.
Well, no, he just doesn't eat, but Diet Coke, I guess, keeps him, I don't know, locked in.
You're saying no food?
No food, just drinks Diet Coke.
How have they held their mud as the season's gone on? They got off to a hot start.
That'd be a negative on that.
They've fallen apart?
Oh, a little bit. Somebody in the chat commented earlier, what do they say? Like bad 42 hours for the Niners. Tom Brady retires. Fangio goes to Miami. Shanahan looks weathered in the press conference. So I guess we should start with Tom real quick before we dive into some other stuff, because last we talked, I was advocating for Tom Brady. And I would have continued advocating for Tom Brady. that option's now on the table. It makes me a little sad because this time I believe that he's gone. And I think he still had something left in the tank. I hate to see him go out with a team that was basically playing offensively with one hand tied behind its back. He had more. I think he had more to give. But I guess now he'll be a Fox broadcaster. But, obviously this has happened a day and a half ago. That storyline, I do wonder if the Niners, I don't think, did they get asked yesterday if they communicated with Tom before his retirement?
I don't think so. They just got asked about a veteran quarterback.
Yeah.
Kind of, under his ilk, and they said no.
Yeah.
We're good with our 2 injured guys.
3 injured guys.
Yeah.
4 injured guys.
Sudfeld available, guys?
So anyway, the Tom door is closed. We had a Tom. We did that on the podcast the other day. We had a video that was set to go out the next day. I had to delete that video from posting because it was why the Niners should get Tom Brady.
Are you shocked, though? I mean, it had been trending to me, his body language, his age, his personal life. Like, it was kind of over. And to move across the country, I could never see that. He's so entrenched on the Eastern Seaboard. And then for the last, it'd be one thing if he was one and done. He was there 4 years.
Yeah.
And he's making so much more money in this tax-free state. Like, I had a hard time envisioning him. If you told me the 49ers played in Pensacola or Jacksonville, I'd have been like, fuck, the guy's coming back. Could you see that guy moving to San Jose for 6 months? I couldn't envision it.
Yeah, I could have, just because they would have been such a good fit to try and go win another Super Bowl. I think it really would have been him on a superpower type team with really good players around him. Now, it would have required maybe a little more, in terms of work from a study standpoint to figure out what this offense is going to be like. And maybe he was just totally worn out. I mean, in some ways, I think it's easier to go out like he did than to go out on top. Because when you go out on top, or when you're on top, you think, why I'm going to stay on top.
But logistically with his kids.
Yeah, I know. No, you're right. It's not nothing.
Like his parents, if he didn't have several children, and the other thing is that, okay, to win a Super Bowl. And I'd say if he had 2, and he's he'd always been saying he wanted more, or he was stuck on 3, he wanted as many as Montana, or he wanted more than Peyton Manning. Guy, he has 7. He has 7 Super Bowls. And you're not alone. Everyone's he can come to the Niners and win a Super Bowl. Yeah, to get 8? What? What the fuck's the difference? Yeah. I just don't. I think the marginal, overall impact. I'm not, obviously, if he came to the Niners and won a Super Bowl, it'd be a really big deal. But does it change the Tom Brady story that much?
No, it doesn't. And the other thing he doesn't have, which he had when he went to Tampa, was the same thing he had when he came into the league, and he was, nobody wanted him, and he had that motivation. Part of the Tampa thing was about sticking it to Bill. And who is he, what vendetta does he have now to continue? Maybe that has died off. He won his championship. Bill's teams aren't any good, really. And what is Tom's, who is his foil? Right? What is the thing that drives him?
Yeah.
And you kind of go out with a whimper. So
yeah,
Gronk won't even come back and play.
I actually thought that his video was perfect because it was just authentic him in front of a phone on a beach.
Was it?
What do you mean?
Was it authentic him on a phone in front of a beach?
You don't think it was?
Well, I mean, it was him. When I hear I woke up this morning and I just want to tell you guys first. Did he tell us first?
No, he had been telling Kraft, and he told. I think he wanted, unlike last time.
He said I saw the report. It wasn't even that day. It had been pre-recorded.
Well, yeah, he was in L.A. for 80 for Brady.
Yeah, so I mean,
when I say authentic, I just meant once he started talking about his teammates, how he got kind of emotionally moved. It was short and sweet, and it wasn't.
I love that. I thought that was cool. They're I've already done the long emotional letter.
The other thing is sometimes these players, the year LeBron announces his retirement before the season, it's gonna be it'll
be a 3-year plan.
Yeah, I love Jeter, but that whole fucking thing, it's just
Bochy did it. Were you mad?
I like when guys are just I'm out.
You were mad when Bochy did it and got all?
No, he's cool.
And then he came back. Bochy's back. What does he do with all the gifts? He got the rocking chair and the wine.
What's drank and he sold.
Yeah. In fairness to him, he kind of got pushed out. I mean,
Well, he did. Yeah, I think he's gone on record in saying that. Like
yeah.
they didn't
So
want him.
they didn't want him anymore. So, no, I agree with you. I thought the way Brady did it was cool. I'm just gonna miss him. I know last year we had talked about it, and I think you kind of
He's
felt the way.
45. I mean,
45. I think you kind of felt, which was his original plan, right? Was like play to 45, right? Wasn't
he
that
did
the
it.
original number? Yeah, he did
Yeah.
it. I know last year you were kind of over him. Is that fair to say? How would
I
you
just think it's
characterize it?
very, very difficult to watch a player of his status just get peppered and the team be in shambles, even though that is the history of the way great players go out. It's like
Yeah.
he doesn't need to be doing this. Like there's no more chasing. And I wonder if that, like you said, like what's he chasing? The Niners. Think of things that you thought of when you were a kid that still mean a lot to you in the sense of like when it comes up in your emotion, you feel it, but ultimately you're not driven or wired about that thing at all anymore. Like his separation from going to Candlestick is a long time removed. I mean, he was drafted by the Montreal Expos in 1995. From Michigan to the Patriots, even these 4 years of Tampa, there is a wide gap of his young, youthful love of the Niners. Like that's a long time ago now, long time ago.
Yeah, it is. But I do think I think it still means something to him. Something. Now, what exactly? How much?
But like I said,
not enough to keep playing when you're unmotivated or
yeah,
whatever.
things can mean something to
Yeah.
you. And then as you age and life changes, you change. I mean, he's moving to Miami.
Yeah. Yep. It's all a sliding scale. Like, okay, that still means something to me, but does it mean more to me than being here where I've got roots now, being close to my kids, starting my career in television, maybe owning some of the Dolphins, whatever. He just
Well, it's
got
like,
getting a
did he want
divorce.
to go
That's
to
a
the
pretty major
Niners?
life event. I mean,
Did he want to go to the Niners in 20 because they were the Niners? Or because they just got the Super Bowl and they were really good?
I think it's less about they were the Niners and more about they were on the list of teams that he could win a championship with.
Did LeBron go back to Cleveland after Miami because it's home, I'm coming home, or because they had Kyrie Irving and the number 1 overall pick and they were equipped to like be good? If they would have sucked and had nothing, he's not going there.
The one thing with
sports.
LeBron, the difference with LeBron, the one thing with LeBron is that LeBron was dragged very publicly for going to Miami, and I wonder if he felt like if he was hurt by that and felt like he could right some of that wrong.
True, but they were equipped to win.
No, he wouldn't have done it if not. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Because I would say no sport sucks more losing than football. And if you've been around winning in football, you'd want no part of losing. If money, I understand when players like sign a contract with a shitty team because they offer them a ton of money. You can't. It's football. But in like Brady status, or think about Peyton when he made his decision. Like at the time, remember Harbaugh wanted him, but it was still kind of risky, to go to the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
And Denver, like you could just see the writing on the wall. Elway was there, or so he could sell you, even though he hadn't really done it long. It was just like, I'm your equal. We will do everything possible. Look at some of the players we have on this team. Like I would imagine a lot of the conversations Peyton was having with his people. Yeah, stay in the AFC, teams you're comfortable with. That matters a lot in football, I think. Personnel, coaching, they're just, in baseball, it's like, wait, they're offering me $200 million, play third base. It doesn't matter. Like, who's the batting coach?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, it doesn't matter. The one thing in baseball that does matter is like if you change leagues, although it matters less so now. It used to matter more when there was no even interleague play. Like it is a whole. You haven't seen any of those pitchers before, or you haven't seen any of those hitters before. I remember that used to always be a story, like an adjustment. Like, it's taken a couple months, learning the league. But that's less a thing now just because of all the interleague play, but
I would have wanted Tom for business reasons. It would have been cool. Me and you would have probably made us some more money. But I guess I'm not. I never envisioned it happening. I thought it was such a Hail Mary possibility after what we witnessed last year, how it had been consistently talked about, how his kid that's in New York, then he gets this divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're a divorced dad, so you're splitting time. Say what you want about Tom, like and Giselle. I think everyone makes too big of a deal of like, it's hard to assume we ever know anyone's relationship. The only person that truly ever knows a relationship is yourself and your significant other. People on the outside, even your closest friends might know a percentage, but they never know the whole thing.
The maid knows.
And then you get it. What'd you say?
The maid knows.
Yeah, especially Arnold's. Mildred Baena.
Arnold. See, that was one where Arnold's wife didn't know the relationship.
No, she didn't. But Mildred did. And
she in Bakersfield or something?
Yeah, probably. Because I mean, they were, in the Hollywood Hills. I just think that for him he's already going to be splitting time with his kids. He's older. It's one thing, like, he's only 31. Like, your mindset's a little. Imagine how mature at 45. Like, the things he's thinking about are so much different than even like a free agent this year that's 33 years old. Even J.J. Watt that just announced his retirement, just had like new baby within the last 6 months. His mindset of life is dramatically different than a guy whose oldest kid is fucking playing high school football.
Yeah, maybe his kid's like, Dad, I'm going to go to college at, I want to go to Florida. Or he just wants to watch his kid play high school football.
Yeah, I never thought for a second, like I was closer to 100% than I was 90 in terms of confidence. It was not happening. Now, I wasn't confident of the Niners being aggressive. If he said, like, I'm open to it, I had a hard time. He feels really, really entrenched. Like those rich people from the Northeast that moved to Florida, like they're never budging.
No, they don't
they're
move.
Staying.
DG on the stream asked, had the Niners signed him in 2020, would they have a Super Bowl by now? Yes.
Yeah.
Would they have 2 Super Bowls?
That's hard to say because, a freak missed tackle or a fumble, but I think they'd have a Super Bowl. It's one of those where, when Surly Kyle, that was a mistake.
Yeah. Before we get to Surly Kyle, though, so the 20 season, the 21 season, NFC Championship game, the 22 season, NFC Championship game. So, in theory, they would have had, well, I guess 4 years, right? You said 20?
When did Brady leave?
Was he there 3 years? Niners lost the Super Bowl in 19. Brady goes in 20. 2021, 22, right?
3 years, yeah.
Yeah. Beats the Chiefs in 20. So, yeah, I think, and yes, we are doing something insane in assuming the 49ers would have had an injury-free quarterback season with Tom. But
Tom Brady's career ends on a cart.
Shanahan, like, I don't know. It could have happened anywhere.
Ends on a cart with a thumbs up. That is the lasting images of Tom.
Kyle's like, Mullins! Yeah, maybe they don't win in 20. Okay. But this is why I made the case for him the other day. Right now, and I'm not saying this this is going to sound like right now the Niners are really good at almost getting there or almost getting it done. And Tom's a finisher. So, yeah, I think they would have a Super Bowl.
I got a take for you. I think Tom, once he starts doing Fox games, even though the Rams had a shitty season with all their players coming back, they're going to be in the mix for primetime cool games, right? They're not just getting booted. It would take
now that Sean and Stafford are back, I think you have to assume they won't be terrible.
Yeah, so he's going to do a lot of Kyle and McVay games. He's going to love those two guys. Now, would it have worked like those two guys? Kyle's probably even more than Sean, like coach player, could have got a little weird, even though I would say all three of them feel like little balance to their life. Beside when they're with their family, it's 100% football. So I think they would.
But even then, it's not, you saw what John Lynch said the other day. Like, Kyle likes to go away, but we still stay in touch.
Well, the other thing that he mentioned? Did you get the? Obviously when he goes away, we run our personnel department, but everything goes through Kyle. It's like, so basically, there's nothing happens in our organization without going through Kyle. Well, Brady's been used to now for a couple years in Tampa. Like, I want to do this. I got doing this. So he was a little emboldened. And in fairness, he comes to Kyle like, hey, Kyle, I got some ideas. Like, you're not fucking Belichick here. Like, I'm looking for your rings. I don't see any. I got 7 of them. So I think they are going to be very, very good buddies. Like, I think their relationship for calling the game, assuming Tom goes all in, let's give Tom 5 years of calling games, doing a ton of Kyle games. They're going to love each other. Because Kyle already has talked about when he was young in his career, watching him, like, the respect he has. they're going to be BFFs.
Yeah.
If you told me like they hung out a little bit in the off season, they're going to be good friends. I don't know if it was a match made in coaching heaven at the status Tom's at 45, all these championships. Like, bro, I got some ideas.
Right. Shanahan's like, I can really help you. Tom's like, help me do what?
Yeah.
So, all right. A couple Brock Purdy things to get to. We keep updating Brock's situation. Kyle Shanahan said on Wednesday, reiterated, it certainly sounds to him like this is a repair, not a reconstruction. He said that Purdy is 3 months after surgery. They think same guy. He said Purdy is Brady and Brady is Purdy. He said that Brock, he thinks a surgery would be 3 months until he can start throwing, and then after 6 months, good to go. Shanahan said he asked the doctors, wait, so does that mean after 6 months you have to manage him, put him on a pitch count, that kind of thing? And he said he was told no. So it sounds like that we don't know exactly what we heard Brock the other day. We don't know, Brock's getting second opinions, third opinions, whatever. We don't know exactly what Brock is going to do, but it certainly seems like the Niners have reached their conclusion, which is he should get a surgery and that surgery would have him back with plenty of time to be ready for the season.
I think it's pretty easy to take an educated guess on this one and go, well, why wouldn't Purdy just immediately go under the knife and just get it taken care of if that's the prognosis and that's the outcome? And you go, well, one, Brock Purdy had a front row seat of seeing just madness happen, right? When he showed up to OTAs, the starting quarterback, he'd be like, yeah, they just traded 3 first-round picks for him. This guy's the starter. It's a lock. And then it get weird very, very fast by the time the middle of training camp. And then Jimmy Garoppolo come back, and that guy basically get Wally Pitt pretty immediately. And you just, obviously, the guy played football. His dad was a former pro athlete. Like, if you follow football long enough, and if you play at the level, I would argue just once he gets to Iowa State, it's a pretty cutthroat sport where guys get hurt, guys get replaced. How many guys, before he even got to the league, did he just see at Iowa State? Like, this guy, one of the better recruits, breaks a leg, never plays again. Like, there's a cutthroat nature to
a bunch of quarterbacks in his class, right, that he never heard from again.
For sure. You just think about, like, Peyton Manning was Peyton Manning. Then his neck went weird, and then the Colts cut him. The Patriots said, Tom Brady, yeah, we're good with going our separate ways. I mean, these are the best 2 quarterbacks of Brock Purdy's life. He's sitting there right now like, the Packers are going to trade Aaron Rodgers? Like, it's the league.
He watched Jimmy Garoppolo play in the Super Bowl, and then when Brock showed up to practice, Jimmy was banished behind the bleachers. Like, he's like, that's Jimmy Garoppolo?
I do understand if you're him and you've been durable your whole life. One, an injury it's a weird position to be in, right? You're just not used to going through it. And 2, like, are we sure that I have to get surgery and be out 6 months?
Yeah.
Because if this is just, I can take a month off and I'm good, I will be the starting quarterback the first time we ever walk on the grass as a team. I'm the starting quarterback.
Trade us any first team snaps, any chance to take his job back.
It's my job.
Well, at any time there's a surgery, it's always easy to assume success when it's somebody else's surgery. When it's you going under the knife and like, I think when it's your surgery, the most basic thing, anesthesia, which can result in death if done wrong, would freak you out a little bit. And no one else, now it may be that it's local anesthesia. I don't know what they do for this. I'm not sure that they put you under.
Does that happen a lot?
Anesthesiologists make a lot of money because that is a very fine balance when they put you full anesthesia, not local anesthesia, right? Not when they just numb your elbow, which I don't know somebody in the chat knows how they do Tommy John. They may not need to put you under for that. So it's not a perfect example, but like, that's the thing. When it's somebody else's surgery, like, good luck. But then the anesthesiologist comes in and explains to you, like, okay, here are the risks. You going to sign off on the piece of paper? So to your point, like, it's his elbow they're cutting open. People have nicked the wrong nerve before and caused, when they say 99 times out of 100, this is awesome. You're like, well, 1 time out of 100, somebody loses their ability to be an NFL quarterback. Is that possible? Like, well, we've only done this internal brace for Mullins. It's only happened a couple of times. So, we'll see. We'll look forward to kind of following your progress, Brock. I'm with you. But it clearly
the elbow's the lifeblood of the guy's future career. So I get being very, very just very prudent with all my moves. You know, what's the rush here? Let's just take a week or two to exhaust all the options. Right?
Yeah.
Because I would say that when you watch two guys, one a little more consistently positive than the other in John and Kyle, they both felt pretty positive about like where this stands. Right? They blew some smoke, and we can get into some of Kyle's comments, but they both felt very, very confident in the way they portrayed the rumors that we had already heard about the Niners wanting him to get it, and they explained why, right?
Yeah, because they thought it would get him back in 6 months.
But like it's a surgery that, one, if anything's going weird, 3 months into it, right? It's not like at the end. Because you start throwing at 3 months. So if something's off, like you have time. Sometimes with the ACL 6 months in, it's like, well, we got him out in the field, and then it starts swelling. Like there'd be a build-up process that if you ever need to make moves, there's just wiggle room in the way that they explained it, because that was clearly the way it was explained to them.
Yeah. Mayoko said on his podcast, there will be a lot of pissed off people if Brock Purdy isn't the starter next year. Kyle Shanahan, when asked, is this Brock's job, said, I haven't even thought about that yet. Shanahan claimed to have not thought about who his starting quarterback would be next year, as if he was unmoved by all of Brock's progress. Like if John Lynch came in after 7 weeks, like, man, Brock is killing it.
Do they just not think Trey can play?
Well, I'll say this, right? Like, Brock was really good. It's not like if Trey gets replaced by Brock Purdy, he got replaced by some guy who didn't do. I mean, Brock was historically special.
100%. But I'm just saying, like, Miracle's talking to the people that matter, that wear the pads, and it's clear, like, no, he's our starting quarterback. It's not like, well, just be open to whoever.
Trey even a chance.
Yeah.
What are you even letting this guy get a snap for? Yeah, I mean, John, they run a different offense. They ran a different offense when Trey Lance was their quarterback. So they don't think he can play in their preferred way of playing. And they may not think he can play. Like, really play.
The players.
The players, was that the Mike Silver report that there was some locker room kind of pull for Jimmy, right? Last offseason.
And I get where, if you're Kyle, like, ultimately you do need to rehab his value, right, around the league, and just rehab the guy mentally, because, he can say whatever he wants. I don't know how he'd be as confident, Trey Lance, that is, right now as he was to start OTAs last year, right? A lot has happened. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't behoove you to be like, Brock is injured. I would say if Brock was 100% fine and they had just lost the game, they had just lost the Eagles, and Brock was cool, that comment would be an enormous story. Like, I'd be, what the fuck are you talking about, right? Players might be mad. Like, this is a joke.
Yeah.
And do you think he would have said that if they just would have lost 31-20 and Purdy was fine, like, threw a couple touchdowns, threw a pick too, but they just lost. Defense gave up a late touchdown, whatever. Is he saying what he just said about who's the starting quarterback this offseason? Brock's 100% healthy.
I think he says the same thing.
He might.
I think he says, I haven't really thought about it. But obviously what Brock did this year. I mean, now, when Kyle Juszczyk or Debo comes into his office, I think part of it is
Trent's like,
every single one of us would be shocked if, when healthy, Brock Purdy is not their starting quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, I think even the players would go, whatever, that's just, they would think that is Kyle doing media talk and not really how Kyle feels and not really what Kyle thinks. Now, I don't think Kyle is so married to Trey because they spent what they spent on him from a draft trade standpoint.
Well, it's over now, right?
Yeah, that was an L. But, the question is, if it's an F right now, can you get it up to a B-? It's not ever going to be an A+, but, like, it would be foolish for Kyle to give up on Trey Lance being anything, because Trey really hasn't played. Now, maybe he thinks he's far less confident than he would have been a year ago that Trey can become an NFL starter, but he's still on his team. It'd be foolish for him. Think about how patient from an injury standpoint Kyle Shanahan's been with players historically. He will wait and wait. If he thinks there's a chance you can become a player for him, they will wait and wait and wait. Jalen Hurd, probably the first guy that comes to mind. So, I mean, it's not these things. I don't think it's black and white. Like, he has to think Brock gives him a better chance to win, but it doesn't mean that he thinks he's wasting his time if he gives Trey Lance any reps. The problem, I think we all identify, it's going to be, how is Trey Lance going to get better if he doesn't play? And we're just looking at another scenario in which he's unlikely to play. Now, the flip side of that is, if you're the Niners quarterback in the Kyle Shanahan era, if you're the Niners backup quarterback in the Shanahan era, you play. You play. It happens every year. The backup quarterback, almost every year, the backup quarterback plays. So at this point, he needs Trey Lance, so there's a reason to be invested in Trey. But there is not a soul that honestly thinks, you, me, watching, listening, analysts, fans, casual, hardcore, there cannot be a person in that building that doesn't expect Brock Purdy to be their quarterback next year. Like, it's just
Agreed.
So, I mean, until it now, the one part of it that makes it complicated is he's hurt. He's getting a surgery. Trey Lance will probably be healthy before Brock. And this goes back to what you said about Brock just maybe being a little uncomfortable. If Brock got the job because the door just swung wide open for him and he walked right through it. Now, we all think it's unlikely that Trey Lance in the last year just looks like a guy that has to be the starting quarterback of the team. But the second you start taking first team reps, you have the opportunity for the other guy to take the other guy's job because he got hurt. Now, can you practice well enough to overcome what Brock Purdy did in real games? Probably not.
No.
Especially if people think, like, does Brock look better in practice? So, in the meeting rooms, does he know the offense better? Blah, blah, blah. So I just, I don't see how he's not the quarterback. But again, he's getting a surgery. We think.
Yeah. It feels inevitable.
And if I were like Trey Lance's agent or his mental performance coach, I'd be like, Trey, you could end up starting the second series of the season. Like, I think I said it the other day, but I saw somebody after the NFC Championship game say, like, I mean, I said it. We all said it. I can't believe I'm watching Josh Johnson in this game. But why can't I believe that? I've watched the backup quarterback play so many games for the 49ers. Why can't I believe that the 49ers starting quarterback got hurt? So,
they had been one snap away from Josh Johnson for 7 straight weeks, right?
Exactly.
Really more, because 2 playoff games. I mean, it could have happened at any moment.
Could happen at any time. And here's the other thing. Josh Johnson or Jimmy Garoppolo's had multiple injuries. Brock Purdy has to prove that he can be healthy.
Does feel like they're finally sending Jimmy on his way.
It does feel that way. This time it's real.
You'd think.
Is there a 1%?
Barrow said yesterday, when they had the availability for the locker room, like Purdy's right there, Trey's right there, Kittle's right there, Fred, they're all talking. He said the moment the locker room opened for media to go in, they look outside and Jimmy's car's.
No.
He said he peeled out.
Not a lot to clean out in the locker, probably.
I mean, he was. I guess he'd been injured for a little while, so he'd probably slowly but surely. It does feel over. Because the one thing Jimmy has right now, in theory, is like some more health. He was training to be ready by the Super Bowl. Definitely be ready by March, whatever the first day of free agency is, that Wednesday, middle of March, 17th, 15th, whatever the official day is. Feels like more than likely I would bet Jimmy signs on that day within 48 hours of that day, wouldn't you?
March 15th, league year begins.
Like, is Jimmy Garoppolo more likely to sign March 15th or April 10th?
Yeah, I'm with you right away. It's like Texans, Jets, Dolphins. I think he's in one of those spots fast.
Yeah, I agree.
The other part of it is you just think if Brock's back, you think Brock's better. Like what?
Yeah.
So very bizarre situation. But the Niners are not immune to bizarre situations.
No, they're a bizarre because when they lose, they don't just just walk off field goal, miss a tackle. It's just a tough NFL loss. It's like, oh my God, you don't want to know what happened.
They're like an M. Night Shyamalan, or whatever you say his last name movie.
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan. There's always a twist, and sometimes the twist is like, well, that was stupid.
Yeah. I
Sometimes
don't
the
really.
twist isn't even shocking. It's just like, bro, really? This is how we're ending it this season? But I think as time goes on, we'll remember that NFC Championship game, not with the horror of having a potentially classic game ripped away from us, and more with like, I can't believe Kyle Shanahan, another crazy Kyle Shanahan season ended.
Yeah.
In
I honestly, I don't think that's ever changing.
What?
I think it was so weird that it just completely erased from anyone's mind the potential of this could have been an all-time great game. It's like, what the fuck no one even talks about that. Even though we were ripped away from the two best teams in the conference, lining up to play each other, kickoff, let's go. This is bad. I remember waking up like, this is going to be sweet. And then immediately it was.
You texted me in the morning. You're like, I'm feeling good today. You were confident Sunday morning.
Because I was ready for a war. I know they can handle war. So I was like, their team's better than last year. They all admitted this year. I think Trent and Bosa were asked, is this the best team over the last couple of years? Like, this team was better than last year because it was. Why? Because the quarterback. And then his arm doesn't work. And then Kittle, do you see mic'd up? He's like, are you ambidextrous? Like, can you throw with your left hand?
I saw that. I didn't watch it. How did Brock?
I didn't have it muted. I just saw the thing. I think he was trying to loosen it. He was.
Severo on the stream says, I knew John was a fan. Well, you would bet heavy on the Niners too.
Yeah. I root for the Niners to win games. I've not acknowledged. My point is simply like, my fandom is much different than when I was a kid than it is now.
It's much more selfish now.
Yes. when you're a true fan, like I cried watching Tiger Woods win the 19 Masters.
Yeah.
I openly root for the Warriors when they're in the playoffs. This is different. I have an agenda here. Where media always claim that like they're not. I have a side.
Would that have been a good podcast name if we had not gone with Haberman and Middlecoff? Remember, we were trying to come up with names, agenda driven, or something like that. Something based on like we don't pretend that we don't have an agenda.
Not terrible. I mean, we could always pivot. No, that's not bad.
Agenda driven. It's not really. It doesn't sound like a fun show. It sounds like.
And the way I always justify it is like when you're a fan, you pay for everything. Your time. You go to games, like they're getting all of you. Like I profit off this. So this is, this is a two-way street. They do well, we do well.
Right.
If like I've always said, if you said we would 4x our revenue and they would lose every game, I remember people like, you're lying. No, I would 100% do that.
If you said 10x the revenue and it's all you just exclusively Raiders.
My comeback would be, I think it's humanly impossible to 10x revenue with that brand.
That's not the scenario, though. The scenario is
that's a world that doesn't exist, guys.
Agenda driven with Haberman and Middlecoff. Look at it in print. Doesn't look great in print, but
you would not have the name, our names.
No, I know. I'm just looking at the word agenda driven.
It's close. I feel like you're headed toward you're thirsty and you're headed toward the river.
To me, it's in the spirit of the best podcast name. I don't know what your opinion is. I think the most genius podcast name is just Pardon My Take.
Yeah,
and it's great for multiple reasons, but I think what would be good about something addressing that we are pro agenda is like that. The entire point of what everybody's constantly claiming they have no agenda. Fair and balanced. Yeah. We're the opposite of fair and balanced. even though we are, I think, pretty unemotional, generally speaking, we're open about when we have an agenda.
Yeah. I'll talk shit about just about anybody except probably Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah, Juice. Man, when I watched the 0-2 NFC Championship game and Deuce Staley scored the first touchdown, the whole place went, Deuce. And you got to give Philly credit. Like, that is not a place where the Niners go play, and there's going to be enough people to get a Juice chant in. There's just – Eagles fans are not selling those tickets.
Well, like, here's one. You
Not
know,
that we ever got the chance to see.
Fred Warner seems like a high-level guy. He's got a beautiful wife. She, I guess, went on Instagram and was bitching and moaning like she'll never go back to Philly. And I never understand this with wives or moms. Like, when you go into crazy places in big games, do you think they're going to high-five you? So, yeah, they're flipping you off.
Joey Bosa.
Like, welcome. I'd say that's a little crazier given that he's right there and talking shit. Those guys, it just shows you how crazy the fan is. Now, he's also filming. He knows the guy can't hit him. So it's a little chicken shit. But I just never understand family members that complain about hostile environments. Like, yeah, guys, I mean, that's nature of the beast.
Like you always say, you don't hold it against a mom for defending their kid. You know, like it's just a pretty emotional thing.
But it's no different emotional for these fans that are just kind of nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Go Snapchat your butt buddies.
All-time quote. Now Max Crosby's piling on. I'm like, why is Max Crosby talking shit about Nick Bosa? And you looked at the headline. You're like, talking about Joey. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't care then.
Yeah, I don't. Max, like you.
Well, he's picking up this, Derek's. What? Are they wearing helmets or logos in the Pro Bowl?
Someone said it starts tonight.
Well, Pro Bowl games, because it's not actually a Pro Bowl. Are they going to wear logos? Like, remember when Jeff Samardzija was in the All-Star game, but he'd been traded from the Cubs
to
the A's, and so he wore, I don't remember which team was he an American Leaguer or a National Leaguer, but he just wore like he must have been he wore like a generic league hat or something.
I thought he just wore the A stuff, did he?
Did he?
But pretty crazy.
He was a National League All-Star.
Pretty crazy that Samardzija was an All-Star. He was justified that year.
For baseball, that first half of the season.
I know, it's crazy.
He had like a 1.2 ERA.
That ended fast. Did you see that if
the A's were like, John Lester?
Never forget now saying football, what's his name? The running back for the Patriots?
Robert Edwards.
If Derek were to have an injury, they'd be on the hook for $33 million.
Ooh.
Did you think
I would be very nervous watching
What was your take on their tweet about putting out Derek made the Pro Bowl?
Well, I laughed at it because I thought that Mark, like organizationally, I don't think they would want it. I do think it is the classy thing to do. I don't remember exactly what the text said. I thought they could have been a little more like, eloquent, whatever they said. But I do think it's the classy thing to do.
Does anyone notice if they stay quiet? Because it's a joke nod, right? Him and Tyler Huntley made the team.
Yeah, no.
It's not a real. Honestly, it's the fakest two nods I ever remember in the Pro Bowl. Like, honestly, kind of embarrassing. And my overall take is, let's just end this thing. Like,
but they have ended it. It's not the Pro Bowl anymore.
But I mean, officially, like, don't even
competition.
Send those guys.
Coaching it.
Yeah, I mean, let's just don't even call it anything. Just invite some players. Like, Derek, you want to come? Huntley, you want to come? Like, it's not a Pro Bowl.
But you're not called. You didn't make the Pro Bowl this year.
Yeah, like, Derek, you can't claim you made you were benched. You're never going to play for the team again. Tyler Huntley threw 2 touchdowns and 3 picks this season. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it shouldn't say on your wiki or in your official bio, like, Pro Bowl season.
It should not.
I agree.
And if we had in the contract a bonus, and I would imagine this has been instituted over the years, right? You have to be like Josh Allen. He's a Pro Bowler. He just chose not to go to play at Pebble Beach. Derek, you don't get your $300,000 Pro Bowl bonus. Guy like Tyler Huntley, I bet his Pro Bowl bonus guy is $1 million because they put it in the contract. He's never going to get it.
The Raiders having to cut Derek a Pro Bowl bonus check is pretty funny, though. If that's in his contract,
It'd be incredible.
All right. Kyle Shanahan, grumpy Kyle Shanahan, understandably. Season ends. Time to talk to the media. John Lynch, as you noticed and referenced, said multiple times, Kyle just needs some rest. There was a question in the press conference, if you didn't see it, about quarterback injuries. Like, why are all the quarterbacks always getting hurt? And John Lynch answered the question. And I don't remember if it was the same reporter. Do you remember if it was the same reporter that asked John? Somebody followed up and said, with due respect to John's answer, Kyle, could we direct the question to you? What do you think about the fact that these quarterbacks all get hurt? And Kyle was extremely dismissive. He just listed every injury and was like, they got hurt playing quarterback. I don't know what to tell you. Basically. Did I summarize that?
Yeah. He wanted no part of the question. And
he thought it was an illegitimate question by the way he answered it.
What I don't, and just like after the game, when asked about the specific play, because I would say we're not even really talking about the other three guys. God love him. Respect the hell out of his desire to never tap out. No one cares about Josh Johnson. They just don't. The Trey thing, I think we all agree. The internet argued, freak deal. Jimmy, definitely a freak deal. Brock Purdy was not. Purdy was a specific.
I don't think Trey Lance was a freak deal.
You mean, did he ran him too much?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a running quarterback, right? Running quarterbacks, like.
It's not a freak deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, you draft or sign a running quarterback, like he might get hurt running.
Yeah.
That's.
Especially when he looks uncomfortable as a runner.
For sure, but he can't throw, so.
Understood.
But he definitely didn't give in when that, and I supported him on that because I'm on the side of Kyle on that one. The Brock Purdy thing, though, in these press conferences, I get where Kyle is thinking that like it wasn't. Honestly, I didn't even recognize the voice. It wasn't Mike Silver.
Somebody said it was Jason Cole.
Okay,
there was someone in the chat just said.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't recognize his voice, but asking him the question that it's not Kyle. Like I don't need to answer it to you. You are speaking to, I don't know, a top 5 fan base in the league in terms of size, in terms of importance, in terms of people that really like you because you're clearly pretty good and you've been the best thing that's happened to this franchise in a long time. You brought a lot of joy with a lot of wins and a lot of big games. Isn't this just one where I get after the game? I honestly don't even hold you against as a player or coach after a game for being shitty in that position after a big loss. Ideally, act like a pro, but Belichick, Brady have not, whatever. Who cares? Didn't Brady not even shake Foles' hands? Like it's
multiple times.
Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
3-4 days after, you can't go, listen, if I had that to do over, I wish I would have had another play call. Obviously, I can't. It's done. But yeah, do I regret putting our backup tight end in that position? Of course. Did I think it would work during the week? I did. Right away, I knew we were in trouble. It was a bad play call. I'm human. No, you don't even have to say that. Like I'm a play caller. I make good ones. I make bad ones. It's part of the job. That one had devastating ramifications. What is that? Like, are you still that fucking bitter 4 days later? Again, I like the guy. I think he's clearly one of the best coaches in the league. How could he not come to that? It's like Lynch is like, he's edgy, guys. He needs sleep. Yeah, because he can't just say that I fucked up. Every human fucks up. Players fuck up. Coaches fuck up. Lynch fucks up. You and I fuck up. Everyone listening messes up. Like, it's life. It's life. And he's incapable of doing it. And he never does, guy. When it comes specifically to offense and offensive play calls, I think it's like a bugaboo that he can't justify it. Like, I refuse to give the media. You're not talking to the media, guy, or Kyle. You're talking to one of the powerhouse, millions upon millions of people that just want to hear you say, like, it's a pretty obvious one. I regret doing that.
Or even at minimum, even less than that, but still far more than he did, explain why you don't think it's a mistake. Just say, look, it's my belief that there's only one way to run this offense, and you've got to run all of it, whether it's Hassan Reddick or the worst pass rusher in the league over there. We've got to run these plays, and we got to be better about it. Blah blah blah. But I would do the play over, even if we all disagree with that and think that's a bad answer. At least it's some insight into what he thinks. Does he think it's a mistake or does he not think it's a mistake? We could disagree and say, Kyle, I don't know offense as well as you, but having Hassan Reddick one-on-one with Tyler Kroft, there's just no scenario in which that's a good idea, especially early in a game. When you're relying on, because I would love to know, what does he really think? Even if what he really thinks is it's not a bad play, then what happened? Was Brock supposed to step up in the pocket? Do you blame Brock? Was Kroft supposed to hold the block longer? Do you blame Kroft? The play failed. The quarterback got hit.
Did he think Reddick, like when they do it in practice or on film, bites down the line of scrimmage, right, on a play fake?
Well, I think he thought Reddick was going to bite on Debo coming around. Say that. Say, I thought Reddick was going to bite on Debo, and Reddick made a great play. But somewhere along the way, the play failed. Now, here's the thing. You don't want to say, maybe you don't want to blame the player. But you have to at least explain what why you think. Because my question would be, Kyle, would you run that play again?
Yes.
Okay, tell me why. Why would you run that play again? And his answer might be, if I start picking out some of these plays based on who the defense is, then my offense isn't the same.
I don't blame anyone for not asking the question, but that's the perfect question. And I'm not in these press conferences. I never will be, but
we've been in them before.
I know, but I won't be again. Like that, and I'm not going to say like people screwed up by not asking the question, but that would have been a way to basically force to get an answer out of him. Would you run that play again?
Yeah, I don't know what he'd say. What do you think he'd say?
Because the injury thing, it's when he asked, he was not going to bite. It's clear.
Well, I think it's fair to be like, and this was John Lynch's answer. Yeah, I mean, because how could you possibly find a pattern between all of them? Unless you're saying, like, we studied it, all the quarterback injuries happen with pressure off the right side, and we got to shore up the right side.
But I think every single person asking these questions, the media, the fans that are like, what, are not going, all 7 are the same injuries. It's how is it humanly possible now in 2 years you got quarterbacks injured last year, and then this year they're all dropping like flies.
John, 6 years. He's had a quarterback last the whole season once.
How's it possible? Like, there is, of course, it's football. Freaky things happen all the time. But, Kyle, your quarterbacks get injured at a clip. And it's, okay, Jimmy, he's injury prone. Remove him. Birdie's never had an injury. And he got put in a compromising position. Because even Lynch was like, well, his arm got ripped. Well, no shit.
Yeah. I mean, I think at minimum, what I would expect, and Lynch acknowledged this, Kyle did not want to acknowledge it, which is,
and Kyle basically want to say, fuck you guys.
Yeah. But I think the real answer, because I don't know.
I like having that attitude every once in a while, but Jesus.
I don't think, do you think Kyle's doing something wrong that's causing all of his quarterbacks to get hurt? Because what I would say is, while you think about that answer, what I would say is, I don't think you are, but let's at least acknowledge maybe we should all just take a pass at, like, guys, can we just spend a day trying to figure out, is there any pattern here why we can't keep a quarterback healthy for 2 years in a row? And the answer is probably no. Like, I think John Lynch is right. Like, I don't know what you would come up with. But at least acknowledge that the pattern is pretty alarming.
But the argument, and this is to go back to the Brady, he hasn't missed a game in 15 years, Mr. Durability.
Yeah.
So he's missed one season. Other than that, he never missed a snap. The likelihood that Tom Brady was going to stay healthy on this team, to me, was just, we would have been stunned. I would have been.
Yeah, well, you've been holding your breath. I mean, the one thing is he gets rid of the ball very fast.
I know, but he's old. He still takes hits.
Jimmy did get hurt in New England, too. No doubt. Yeah, so, I don't know that there's an answer other than, yes, I hear what everybody's saying. I understand the consternation of the fan base. I think it's weird, too. And I wish I had the answer for it. That would have been fine. I hope we can get through a season without a quarterback injury. We got to protect better. We got to look at what we're doing. I don't know. I mean,
we need it to stop.
We need it to stop.
We
Although
need it
we
to
don't
stop.
really need to because we got to the NFC Championship game with our third-string quarterback this year. We just need like one injury or we'd be fine.
But it turns out he was the best one, right?
Yeah.
That's where it's like whenever I hear that argument, it's like the Niners made it third-string quarterback. Well, yeah, looking back, he was the best of the three.
You just brought up a great like private conversation, Kyle. Kyle, when did you first think that Brock Purdy might be the best of the three? Like, did you think it in OTAs? Did you think it in camp? Like, when did you first think Brock might be better than Trey? Did you watch Brock in college and think he might be better than Trey?
In fairness, you've just thrown a couple of incredible questions. If you were in that room and you're looking up, you're like,
you can't ask him that question.
Yeah, well, this guy is so miserable too. What is wrong with you? Like, it sucked. Can we just act like human beings now? It's over. The players are like, it's done, Kyle. That happened. You witnessed it. And you were the guy pulling the trigger on the play call. Like, there's no avoiding that. Sometimes coaches unfairly, like, you just start blasting the head coach. Like, guys, I'm not the coordinator. Like, I do let my guys go. Like, you pulled the trigger on the play call. Like, he is, I'm not saying blood on his hands. No one died, but like, he has Tommy John in his hand or the elbow surgery on his hand because you pulled the trigger specifically. Also, like, the specific play call led to that reaction, right? Sometimes dude trips or whatever. It was like, your backup tight end on, I don't know if there was defensive player of the year rankings, he's not going to win it, but he's a top 5 candidate.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
He's their best player in your backup tight end. Like, even if I don't think there would be any pushback if it was Kittle.
What do you say? Sometimes the backup tight end is the best tight end blocker, but that's not the case on the 49ers. Kittle
if it was Kittle and that still happened, I don't think Kyle would be taking as much heat, right? Because you call it that he's one of the best.
I totally agree.
But it's Croft.
Yeah.
What about this question, Kyle? What gave you the confidence that your backup tight end, who no one's going to get confused for Rob Gronkowski at the point of attack, could protect your quarterback in that situation?
Yeah.
But no matter what he would have been. It's like, Jesus.
Well, here's another version of this.
I'm cool with being pissed off. Everyone was that witnessed that's not an Eagle fan.
He's not over it.
But sometimes I'm okay with not being over it too. But you're part of the cause. So are you just really bitter that, like, do you bear responsibility deep down?
Yeah, I mean, he might be mad at himself. He might be just mad still at the whole thing.
Every human acknowledged the 47 million people that watched it. If you remove 5 million people rooting for the Eagles, the majority of people that watch that game don't necessarily, if they're not gambling, don't have like a rooting interest. They just want to watch like the afternoon game, just a sweet game. We got screwed. You know, the country got screwed because of that play. Yeah. Shocked at 47 million people. I guess there really weren't many other options to watch because everyone cancels programming. Because they're like, we're losing the league.
The number would have been bigger.
Way bigger. If it was 47 million people with a half that was irrelevant, what would that number have been if that game had been the equivalent of the second game? 55? The
game was 52?
Yeah, 53 was the most watched ever, I think.
Yeah.
It was an incredible game with two small market teams, which you could argue proven it doesn't necessarily matter in the NFL.
I mean, their legacy. Well, the Bengals aren't a legacy, but when Trey Lance is healthy again and when he plays on the field, when he plays for the 49ers again, will Kyle Shanahan approach it the same way he did last time?
If he's proven he can't be an accurate quarterback.
I believe he will, right? He will run the same play again that got Trey Lance hurt.
He's a dual threat quarterback in theory.
Fangio out, Miami. So the Niners' defensive coordinator search continues. We'll see. We don't really know who, as of this Thursday afternoon, who D'Amico is taking with him. I saw Chris Harris's name attached to a few teams. Who else did I see him attached to? The DB coach for the Commanders. So we'll see. I mean, that's got to be the first order of business for Kyle Shanahan here.
Did you see one thing they mentioned, and this has changed, I think, over the last several years? there's no longer like I shoot you a fax, which is still kind of funny in the NFL. I remember being in the office here like, and it'd be like, teams putting in for, either coaches or executives. If it's an upgrade of the job, I don't ask you for permission. I just send you, we're talking to this guy. We send you a notification. It went for ask for permission to notification. So if I'm Slowick and I'm D'Amico, I don't have to ask for the 49ers for permission if I'm going to make him my offensive play caller, unless you upgrade him to the offensive play caller. So if I'm D'Amico and I go, I want to talk to Kasurik to be my defensive coordinator to call the plays, that's not, will you guys let me, even though he's under contract? It's, I'm talking to him for an upgraded position, which I'd argue is the right move by the league. It was always kind of bullshit that teams under contract, I'm totally for, like, you can't take my wide receiver coach to be the wide receiver coach like in college, just because you might, he's under contract. I gave him a multi-year deal, gave him stability. Even if I fired him, I got to pay him. You're making him the same lateral move. But if it's an upgrade at position, fuck.
Somebody in the chat said Brian Flores. That'd be too much negativity in the building. You need somebody. Brian Flores is more angry than Kyle from everything you hear, right? He's like,
I heard Flores was so mean to the offensive staff for years.
All right, yeah. So you can't. Was he nice to Tua at least?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, you got to have somebody like D'Amico and Saleh were such good yins for Shanahan that I would lean somebody with a little more kind of bounce in their step. I guess, there are multiple good Vance Joseph. Who knows who the Cardinals are going to hire? Evero feels like he.
Well, I mean, if we're just talking, Flores is a good coach. I would take Flores over Vance Joseph.
What I'm saying is just there's multiple. Evero and Vance are out there, and Wilkes, coaches that are under contract right now, but may not be coordinating their teams' defenses. Yeah. And then obviously, other.
I would say if he hires outside the building, there is a lot of pressure on that individual to be good, not just from the fan base.
That's why you just go with Brian Flores because you just know he's going to be good,
and the owner. But I'd say the players. I mean, you're inheriting Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, Eric Armstead, Ward. You're inheriting a core group of guys, Hufanga, that just had a lot of success. So sometimes I think it's a good position for a coach. It's also a lot of pressure on a coach. Like, it's easier for Sean Payton to go in. The bar's never been lower in Denver.
Yeah.
You'd argue the bar doesn't get much higher for a coordinator position than what you're inheriting in San Francisco at defense, if you're as an outsider. Yeah, Chris Harris, I just fucking like his look. If you just off looks, I mean, one of the best defensive coordinators of all time. Just off the headshot.
I did a Google image search because we saw the headshot, we saw the wiki shot, and no, he's not somebody asked the same Chris Harris from the Broncos. No, but he did play in the league. But like his whole Google image search, he's making the same. Like, he's got one eyebrow up, one eyebrow down, huge neck. It just looks like he'd be a great fit for the Niners. Now is Brian Flores? If Brian Flores gets hired, the Niners have the number one defense in the league next year.
Did you see that Brian Flores was an option, or are you just pulling that name?
No, I'm just pulling that name. Would he get a head coaching job?
I don't think it would hurt.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, Chris Harris hire the fit, but are you just okay with every 2 years having to replace your defensive coordinator? It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's just part of the deal, right?
Yeah. The Chris Kasarek's, you never have to replace a position coach, is not normal.
Brian Flores is the betting favorite to be the Arizona Cardinal head coach. Yeah. Because, OC Mottenford, or whatever his name is, the new GM.
Yeah.
Longtime Patriot guy, was around him a lot. Would make sense. Tough guy with Kyler. Which I'd say if that is the hire for the Cardinals, that makes them a little more formidable.
Bad for the Niners.
Yeah, just a real coach. Like he proved in Miami, I think 19 wins back-to-back years. I kind of expect him to be the coach.
Who else is what are the next like 2 or 3 guys on that odds list?
Vance is up there. Kafka. These guys are like plus 200, plus 500. Brian Flores is minus 150 to be the coach.
What's taking so long?
Shit, I don't like Irsay. Just what's the rush? But you just an extra month, we get that February pay period. You know, it's like, hey, well, Super Bowl. You know, if we do every 2 weeks, if I'm going to pay this guy $7-8 million. Take 15. You know, the second week. Yeah, let's just start February 15th instead of February 2nd. You know, skip a pay period.
I just saved you $700,000.
Cliff's, you know, doing who knows what on his dime over.
That's right. You're double paying. So
he's on a tiger and elephant right now.
I mean, it's possible the owner was like, "Hey, man, the most pay periods we can skip here is ideal. We're paying Cliff, and I'm a little leveraged. I bought a compound in France, and I'm low on cash. The loan will come in, and if you could just wait 2 weeks, we can get it done." Is Brian still getting paid by the Dolphins though?
Well, there's lawsuits going on, so I'm not quite sure. I saw a lawsuit. I love a good coach lawsuit. I saw Matt Rule's coming after Carolina for $5 million. There are discrepancies of if they owe him a specific part of the severance or not. Like there's no
the agent when they find that is so happy. Like, oh guys, I think we got
anyone who's ever been fired or severance packages or left a job, and most human beings. I mean, the median income in America is like 50 grand. Educated Americans probably like 85. So even if you do get let go and a severance, you're talking whatever they owe you means a lot to you, right? That's the difference of like being able to pay the mortgage.
But 2 months pay, it might be, you know, $8,000, $6,000.
100%. But that money to make some payments for your car, for your kids, for your house is night and day. That $5 million to Matt Rule is completely irrelevant to his life beside principle, right? It's 100%, you owe me this. And they're like, F you, we don't owe you this. It doesn't change like the size of his house in Nebraska. If he wants to buy a sweet house in Cabo, anything he's doing, that $5 million is completely irrelevant to his life beside they owe me this, make sure we get it.
Numbers on a piece of paper. Numbers on a screen.
Gotta be a cool position to be in.
Well, you just can't, you can't allow you let them take advantage of you, John. Yeah, that's what you tell yourself. You let them take advantage. They're going to take it a step further and a step further and a step further.
He's probably saying, it's actually this $5 million is mine, yet I got to pay my lawyer $700,000. So I'm only going to receive, 4.3 of it. And then after taxes, is this even worth it?
The answer is yes. Fighting for $5 million is always worth it.
$5 million is irrelevant.
And he ain't fighting.
Yeah, he ain't fighting. It's completely irrelevant.
He got a phone call that said, "Hey, Matt, we think we found $5 million." He said, "Okay, go get it." And then they'll call him when they get it or don't get it. And that's as involved as he'll be.
He was making $8.5-9 million at Baylor. He got signed a $72 million contract, and then he just signed another like $70-60 million contract. So ultimately, $5 million. It's not nothing. Like you see it in your bank account, but it has zero impact on the guy's life.
How many league championships or division championships does he have? Probably one. Temple?
Yeah, I don't even think he had one at Baylor.
You're right. He didn't win the Big 12 at Baylor.
I think he got to the game and lost. Because Lincoln had 5 straight Big 12 championships.
Football coaches.
Does it shock you that he got $85 million when all these college coaches, or I guess his is so much shorter? Like if he would have got an 8-year contract, it would have been way higher, right? Part of why it's $85 million, it's only 5 years, so it's 17 times 7 would be over $100 million.
Yeah, I mean,
because most of these college coaches are not signing 5-year deals, correct? When they get the $80-90 million,
it's longer. But like Saban's making on paper this past year on paper, Saban had 11-7, Kirby was 11-2, Dabo was 11-5. So, I mean, 17 million is significantly more than $11.25 million. Right?
A lot of cash.
You're saying why didn't he get 20 or 25 or something?
I would just start at these guys are getting 85 starting $95 million contracts. I need way more than that. It's all relative. Like I'd want $140 million.
Right. But then you are stuck.
Then you're stuck, yeah.
So you take only 17 million a year for so you can be financially so you can be free to make whatever decisions you want.
Sean Payton, man.
What else you got? Anything else?
No.
Deion Sanders killing it, signing day.
Did he kill it?
Yeah, I mean, he got the number one cornerback in the country.
To go. Well, has he said what position Travis Hunter is going to play?
It's funny you asked that. I don't know. I wondered. Well, actually,
because he was the number one player in the country last year as a DB, but he plays wide receiver too.
Yeah, but he was like 7th or 8th on the team last year at Jackson State in catches. He had 18 catches, which isn't nothing. Like he had a big catch in the conference title game or in the bowl game or whatever. But when you look at the numbers, he was 7th on the team in reception.
So he's a DB.
He's a DB, yeah. So he's gotten the number one DB in the nation back-to-back years.
So they could roll out 2 NFL corners.
Yeah. Now, yeah, in a passing league, in one of the best, like it's the best passing league in the country because they have Washington's back with the number one passing offense. Washington State got Western Kentucky's offensive coordinator. They were number 2 in passing offense. SC was number 3 in passing offense. Arizona was number 6 in passing offense last year. So
you see Washington's coordinator told Saban I'm good.
Yeah. I don't know. I assume he got a raise. If he did, it would be his 3rd raise of this offseason.
How's that?
He'd already gotten 2 raises this offseason.
How's that possible?
Well, after their bowl game, after the regular season, he got a raise. Then they win their bowl game. A&M tries to hire him. He says no, comes back, gets almost $2 million a year. And then Saban on Monday interviewed him. And he said,
"You're telling me the University of Washington's coordinator makes over $2 million?"
No, he makes almost $2 million.
That's a lot of cat. These coordinators,
highest paid coordinator ever at Washington. But yeah, no, it's good. I mean,
is there a coordinator in the Pac-12 that makes more than him? Can't be, right?
I don't know. What Grinch probably doesn't make more.
Hope not.
Hey, easy. I'm in Harry Hall right now.
Fight on.
Who would make more? Dillingham left. Will Stein makes less than him.
Who's Dillingham's defensive coordinator?
Brian Ward, who was at Washington State. Good hire.
That guy got a raise.
It's a good question. Oregon traditionally has paid the most for their coordinators, I think.
But their head coach is now their defensive coordinator, right? Which they've always paid a lot for their defensive coordinator.
Tosh Lupoy's there, and they hired another guy.
Who's his offensive coordinator?
Will Stein, new guy from North Texas or Texas State, one of the two.
Jewish guy?
I hope so.
Does Whittingham's defensive coordinator make a lot of coin?
Scally? Been there a while. He probably does. But he got his salary cut a few years ago, or his coach in waiting tag cut a few years ago. So I don't know. So yeah, he might be one. He might be.
These coordinators, man, are making a lot of cash.
And they don't do any. They don't have to sit up there with Shanahan and Lynch and answer any questions hardly.
It's awesome.
Jaden Rashad.
You're like, really wait, I can win 11 games at Washington and become a head coach, or I can go to Saban, maybe win 12, but get screamed at relentlessly by the guy. You're going to pay me $2 million. He's going to pay me 2.1. I'm getting a job probably either way. I'm good, man. You don't have a choice if you're making like 800 and he's offering you 2. But it's like, wait, you will pay me basically the same amount of money, and I like this guy, and everyone's like, listen, it's great for your career, but he fucking screams at you nonstop. Nonstop. You're like, yeah, I'm good.
I got a number one offense and the quarterback's back.
Screams at you.
I know the quarterback
nonstop.
very well. Yeah.
And he's going to be edgy because they haven't won it in a couple years. He clearly just fired the defensive coordinator who went to Ole Miss. It was one of those like, I don't fire anybody, but you got to get a new job. And he just randomly goes to Lane, who
Sent
is
Bill O'Brien back to New England.
So he's kind of starting over from scratch. He doesn't have an offensive or defensive coordinator.
But somehow it's the number 1 recruiting class in the country.
Because it's like what Belichick always envisioned doing, but once Tom removed, like it's much easier to control it all in college. Right? Like if Bill was in college, he would just be doing what Saban's doing, like in full control. But in the pros, it's just no one even thinks it's like even that weird that he doesn't have an offensive or defensive coordinator.
I know.
Nick's like, we'll be fine. Well, Tommy Rees, everyone thought Tommy Rees sucked. I saw he's interviewing for the Alabama offensive coordinator job.
Oh, if I told you Brian Flores ends up as his defensive coordinator, would that shock you?
Yeah, because
what if he can't get an NFL job? I mean, if he didn't get if he didn't get a job in the NFL.
Yeah, it's not crazy.
No.
It just I mean, maybe Nick would tell you, listen, I handle all that. We actually only call 50 guys anyway. I'm not calling 700, you know. I pick them, they don't pick me.
Right. I've heard Alabama is one of the teams that like sends out, you know, like 500 scholarship offers. And then it's like, oh, this guy got offered by Alabama, but not really. It wasn't committable, you know.
I do wonder if it's probably never been a bigger pain in the ass. Because the signing period that just happened was all high school kids, right?
Well, the portal guys can sign whatever they want, and it's JC guys also.
But I'm saying, our portal guys, hasn't school started at a lot of these places?
Yeah,
what's a kid just doing at home?
If you're in the portal, if you were in the portal by January 18th, and you're in the portal now, still, you could like that's Sam Heward just signed at Cal Poly the other day.
True. But it feels like that's been done for a long time, right?
Yeah, I think for the most part, the next wave of portal guys is post spring ball. It's like June.
Yeah.
Teams kind of wait. They like, okay, yeah, we need another quarterback. Yeah, we need a linebacker. Or a guy practices. It's like, shit, I'm on the depth chart 3rd. I want out. He gets ready to go back. You know, like that's when you get more portal movement.
Well, and a lot of times after spring ball, when I was at Fresno State, you basically do a state of your status, right? We sit down with you, what you need to do in the offseason to get ready for training camp. I tell you, you're not starting.
Yeah.
And you're like, back then you were stuck. Now it's like, see ya. I mean, the Heward, it's like, obviously it's the only 5-star Cal Poly's ever going to sniff. But to me, it turns out you're just not a 5-star, right?
Could be, but is DJ Uyunglele a 5-star? That's what he was.
I would say the DJ, even for all his flaws, has to be dramatically better than this individual, correct?
And he was the number 2 overall player in the country, DJ.
Was Brock a top player in the country? Is that his name, Brock? Damon?
Sam Heward?
Sam
Heward.
Who's his dad?
Damon. Brock is his uncle. My guess is I bet he was like 32. Johnson.
Well, how did Sam Heward end up at Cal Poly? Because the former Washington
coach got hired there as the OC. His high school coach got hired as the OC. What are you looking up his 24/7?
Well, he's not that tall.
What was his overall rating coming out of high school?
So he's 6'1". His overall rating was
and played in the air raid too.
17 in the country.
Quarterback or overall?
17 overall player and 3rd overall quarterback.
Okay, I got him 24/7 as 12th. So that's a pretty legitimate prospect.
I'd say that's an incredible prospect, right?
Yeah.
If you just meet someone and be like, yeah, when I was coming out of high school in football, I was a top 20 player in the entire country. That's pretty incredible status, right?
Yeah.
To go from 2 years to be at Cal Poly, I get your high school coach, but
just wanted to be free.
Does he stink?
I don't know. And I don't know that we're going to get I guess he could light it up at Cal Poly. That'd be great. I'd be happy for him.
I would say if he's really good, Cal Poly should be pretty potent on offense, right?
They got any receivers?
You should just have solid guy.
Just solid FCS guys, yeah.
If I put Bryce Young or some of these guys, CJ Stroud at Cal Poly is going to be dramatically better right, than whatever they were with Haberman
I
and
assume they're-
Middlekoff playing
Well,
quarterback.
they were going to run the air raid, I assume. So
Yeah.
you don't need the highest. You don't need the most talented receiving group.
Anything less than a national championship now is a failure.
Put the pressure on John. One of the big. That was John Middlekoff, big Cal Poly booster.
Yeah. I get emails. They want some money.
All right. On that note, enjoy the Pro Bowl activities, everybody.
See you, people.
Later.